few weeks ago, on the day that the UK officially left the European Union, Horrible Histories released a video about Brexit, in which they included a song about the Victorians and about how there is nothing that is really British. There are no British things. There was a pretty minor controversy about it on Twitter, where people were criticising the video and saying that it was teaching children, who was the target audience of the Horrible Histories show, teaching children to hate their own country, or to hate Britain. And now, a few weeks later, we've just seen the Scandinavian Airlines, also known as SAS, have released an advert that is somewhat similar, kind of eerily close in tone to this Horrible Histories video. Just like the Horrible Histories video, the Scandinavian Airlines video names a few things that are widely thought of to be Scandinavian or representing Scandinavian culture, and tells us how those things came from elsewhere, came from other countries. Someone in the advert even says that there is no such thing as being truly Scandinavian. The video of the advert on YouTube has a massive dislike to like ratio, with many, many more dislikes than likes on it. The criticisms for the Scandinavian advert were kind of similar to the Horrible Histories criticisms. So what is going on here? Why these two separate companies in two separate countries in the world making these sort of similar videos with a similar kind of message here and now? And what does it really mean to be British or Scandinavian? That is the topic of this video. I think it's important to recognise the context that these videos have been made in. I can't speak to the zeitgeist in Scandinavia at the moment. I've never visited any Scandinavian country, and I don't even know any people from any Scandinavian countries as far as I know. But I can speak to the British zeitgeist at the moment, which is not one of pride for our country. As we saw in the video where I talked to people at the Brexit celebration, people find it quite difficult to name some British things or some British values. Of course, I did put them on the spot, so it's hard to come up with an answer in that kind of situation. But I think in general, Britain is having a bit of a crisis of identity at the moment, which was why I wanted to make the video. It's true that the British culture is to be a little bit maybe over-apologetic and to be a little bit self-effacing, to be self-deprecating. But I think at the moment that is being taken to an extreme where the British people are, as I've heard it said somewhere, unwilling to take their own side in an argument. I think people in Britain at the moment feel very uncomfortable saying that British values and British culture are any better than any other values or culture anywhere in the world. And it's in this context of self-loathing, not just self-deprecation for the sake of not being arrogant or for a joke, which is somewhat in the British character. I think this goes a little bit beyond that into being self-loathing. In a culture of patriotism and pride for our country, I think this advert may not have been so tone-deaf and it may have been received a lot better. But in the context of our current identity crisis and the way that we see ourselves at the moment, this strikes me as sort of kicking us while we're down a little bit. And I think that's what a lot of other people are saying. They see this Horrible Histories video as just another indoctrination by the government or by the media to make children believe that their country is horrible and that there's nothing to be proud of for being British. I think it's also worth mentioning that although the things they mention in the video, like tea and sugar and cotton, all come from elsewhere, as they say in the video, they come from other countries, the concepts of slavery and imperialism also were not originated in Britain. And, to their credit, they don't pretend like they are British things, but it seems almost conspicuously absent. And a lot of people pointed out in comments that I saw online about this that it's a rather confusing message to say that tea is not British because it comes from India originally, but an Indian immigrant who comes to the United Kingdom is British. If they are able to get a British citizenship, and if they've been living here for a few years, we are led to believe that this is a fully British person. It's just another one of those double-think situations that I talked about a few videos ago. Both these things cannot be true. If tea is not British, then neither are any of the immigrants who come here. The Scandinavian Airlines video was just a little bit different in its meaning, as far as I can tell. The The meaning of this advert is not that there are no Scandinavian things as such, but no truly Scandinavian things. It's a very small difference. I think the difference is that in the Scandinavian advert, they are indicating that these things that are thought of as Scandinavian have become Scandinavian by being brought into Scandinavia and been changed by the people of Scandinavia. In the advert, they say that these things are brought in and they are adjusted a little bit. So, for instance, the meatballs that were originating in Turkey were brought to Scandinavia, but the way that they are served in Scandinavia, in Sweden, or in an IKEA, if you've ever been to one of those, is different to how they were served by the Turks, and it's different to how the Turks eat them now. In IKEA, or I suppose in Sweden, I don't know, you get your meatballs with mashed potato, some cranberry sauce, and this nice creamy gravy that they put on top of it all, and it's very nice. Nowhere in Turkey do they serve meatballs this way, except for maybe in the Turkish IKEA, I don't know. And nor have they ever served meatballs this way in Turkey. So to be charitable to this advert, I think they're saying that Scandinavian things have been brought in and they have become Scandinavian by being adjusted. They even show how different the modern windmills in Scandinavia look compared to the Persian windmills that were predating the modern windmills, apparently. They look very different, and you could say that this advert is praising Scandinavia's ability to take these concepts and ideas and products from abroad and to improve on them, and to make them into a Scandinavian version. That's me being as charitable as I can be, but I am deriving all of that just from this one line in the advert that says, adjust it a little bit. That's all I can really say from that perspective. I think there is some truth in that idea that you can bring things in from abroad, like tea or like meatballs, and you make them your own by changing them. I actually have been to India, and I know that the way they drink their tea is not the same way that we drink tea in England. And I think there's something similar that can be said about immigrants as well. If we take one example like Freddie Mercury, who was born in Tanzania to parents who were Indian and who moved to the UK, he became an extremely successful songwriter and performer, and he's widely beloved in Britain and beyond. I know this is certainly not the typical experience of immigrants, but I think it's interesting that he is now a British icon. His band Queen is a British band, and he is considered a British success story. So we should ask, is Freddie Mercury British, or was he British? He was not born in Britain, his parents were not British, but he spoke English like a native, and he certainly seemed to have adopted the culture well enough to become a cultural icon unto himself. Freddie Mercury would never become the lead singer of Queen and a cultural icon if he had stayed in Tanzania or if his parents had stayed in India. He could not have been the Freddie Mercury that we know in those countries because he would not have had the British culture that allowed him to do that. Freddie Mercury changed a lot by being born in England compared to being born in some other country. I don't need to examine Freddie Mercury's personal history or his parents' heritage to know that he's British. So yes, I think something can be British even if it comes from somewhere else. I think that Horrible Histories is wrong, and the Scandinavian Airlines advert is still wrong, but not quite as wrong. For something to become British or Scandinavian, it doesn't just have to be adjusted a little bit, it has to be changed a lot. And that's completely setting aside the fact that there are many things that were invented in Scandinavia and invented in Britain, while completely ignored by these two videos. They've cherry-picked a few examples of things that were taken from abroad, or things that were borrowed from other cultures or stolen, whatever you want to say, and said, therefore, there are no things that were invented here. But it's absolutely preposterous. One more thing that these two videos have in common is that the YouTube upload of these videos has the comment section disabled. I thought it was a good time to bring up a browser extension I've been using called Dissenter. Dissenter is a little application that adds a comment section to any page of the internet. So any news story, any video, doesn't matter if it has a comment section or not, you open up this little window in the corner of the screen and you can see what the other people on Dissenter have said about it. And there's just something about the idea that we're not supposed to be commenting on this, but you can. It's something really enjoyable to me. So if you're interested in finding out what people think about a page that has the comments disabled, then you can just install this browser extension. The comment section of my videos are never disabled, and I encourage people to leave their comments. I've been getting a lot of comments that have been deleted by YouTube, and it's very frustrating for me because I get these notifications up that have the first 10 or so words, the first line of a comment. I can start to read it in the notification, and then when I click through to read the rest of the comment, it's gone. And there's a little error, YouTube saying this comment is no longer available. And sometimes that's because the person's taken it down themselves or because the comment has been edited, but often it's because YouTube has removed it automatically. Just as soon as it was uploaded, it was flagged by the algorithm and removed. And it's very frustrating for me. And I'm sure it's frustrating for the people who are writing the comments as well, if they even notice it. So if you want to say something and you think it might contain something that YouTube doesn't want you to say, then I encourage you to leave the comment. By all means, it might get past the filter, but please send it to me on Twitter, or you can send me an email. Please send me an email. My email address is potheperson@gmail.com, all one word. It's all... Someone asked me the other day if my email address was all lowercase, and it's funny, yes. Email addresses are not case sensitive, by the way, in case you didn't know. Doesn't matter, you can put it in all caps or all lowercase, it doesn't matter at all. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.